Hey everyone, and welcome to a video post-mortem of my Ludum Dare 42 entry, which I call Johnny's Flipbook Space Adventure. For those who don't know, Ludum Dare is a 48-hour game jam where you must create all your assets during that time. You're not allowed to use pre-made assets for the compo, and I generally join the compo. There's also a game jam that goes on at the same time, which is a 72-hour jam, which does allow you to use pre-made assets or assets that you can download free from the internet. I usually join the compo. The theme for Ludum Dare 42 was running out of space, and this video is going to show the game and how I went about creating it. My entry is, again, Johnny's Flipbook Adventure. Basically, it's a game in a flipbook format where Johnny is drawing his images over and over again and flipping through them, and he's playing his video game on paper, right? So he's making all the sounds, he's drawing all the pictures, and the running out of space part is where his little brother comes in and tears away pieces of paper so his ships can't fly in those areas. So let's play a little bit and then we can get into some code. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 Oh man. Okay, so that was pretty much the game. Very simple, like I said. It's space shoot 'em up. Obviously, aliens are coming towards you. You're shooting. Every level that you advance to, a piece of paper gets torn away. Okay, let's look at the Unity project. So for the graphics, I used a tool called Adobe Photoshop Sketch, which is available on the iPad. And I took each image and I drew it 5 times. I exported those images and then strung them together into a sprite sheet that I created in Photoshop or Paint.net, either one. And then in Unity, I created a basic animation which just cycled through the 5 images. That gave that flipbook kind of feel to the graphics, and I think it actually came out really nice. For the audio, I used Audacity and Adobe Audition. Audition gave me some features that Audacity did not give me. It had a better pitch selection tool. So what I did was I created all my sounds by myself. Then I raised the pitch where Johnny is supposed to be speaking. I wanted it to sound more of like a child, so I raised the pitch on those using Audition. I used Audacity for everything else, so I recorded the sounds. I kind of played around with it, made them work for the game. Now that all the game objects have been created and the scene laid out, it's time to start looking at some code. For this game, there's basically 3 main scripts that control the entire game, and that's the game manager, the player script, and the enemy script. So looking at the game manager script, this is a very short script that basically manages the starting and stopping of the game, controls the starting and stopping of each level, and it also updates the score and the number of lives left that the player has. A couple of things to note is the start level method is basically informing the player to warp back to the center when the level starts. I thought that was a pretty good idea because I wanted to avoid situations where a new hole would open up on top of the player. that would cause a lot of obviously physics issues, and it could pretty much be a game ender right there, where the player is sitting behind a hole and you can't really get out of that. So I wanted to move them towards the center, where no hole would ever open up. So what this method does is basically looks for empty spawn points, and then will position enemies at those points, grab them from the pool, and enable them, and then those enemies will then start moving towards the player and shooting where appropriate. The other is the player killed method, where basically it grabs an explosion animation from the pool, kind of keeps track of the lives, right, and either starts another player, or if all the lives have been used, it ends the game. The player script is a very, very simple script that basically just manages the player controls. So it's left and right for turning, the up arrow key for thrust, and the space bar to fire. And really, only thing of note in here is what I did was I added a cooldown in the fire routine, because I didn't want, pushing spacebar to kind of dump all the bullets out at the same time. So I put down either a quarter of a second or something maybe even smaller than that to make sure that the bullets don't just all come out at the same time, and there's a gap between the bullets when they're shooting. The final script is the enemy script, and again, this is also a very simple script where the enemy will determine where the player is on the screen and kind of move towards that player. The think routine is the brains of the enemy, where it will determine whether or not there's a clear line of sight to the player, and if there is, it will fire a bullet. And what I like to do is I added some randomness to it, because I didn't want all the enemies at the exact same time doing the same thing, right? So I didn't want 5 enemies shooting 5 bullets all at the same time. I wanted some randomness, and I think it really worked well there. Looking at the think routine itself, it just does a raycast, and it determines whether or not that the player is the first thing that is available in the raycast. So if there's a hole in the way, or another enemy in the way, it will not fire. If the player is in the line of sight, it will fire, but only if there are less than the maximum amount of bullets allowable on the screen for that level. So I think the first level there are no bullets allowed on the screen, so you won't see any bullets at all. The second level, I believe there are 3 or 2, I can't remember, bullets allowed. So if the third ship wants to fire and there's already 2 bullets on the screen, it won't occur. And that's really it for the code. And there you have it. That's the game in a nutshell. It's again, very simple game. I'm very pleased by the way it turned out. I had a great experience during this Ludum Dare. My previous one was a lot more stressful. This one was a pleasure to actually work with. It's funny how you kind of think of an idea, or you're having trouble thinking of an idea, and then it just hits you. And in this case, I got an idea that I thought I could really turn around and make an enjoyable game out of. The only thing that really didn't go as planned is early on I wanted the enemies to actually create holes when they were destroyed, and I was having a very hard time with the physics doing that, because there were holes on top of holes, and sometimes a hole would pop on top or over a living enemy, and it just seemed like you were running out of too much space too quickly. So I think the way this works, where every level a piece of paper is torn away. I think it really works in this particular game. Again, I learned, a lot about some new tools. I tried a new style of art that worked for me, I believe. So all in all, it was a really good experience. So I will leave it at that. Please check below. I'm going to put as many links to the game and the tools and everything for you to kind of look at. I'm kind of interested in your comments about the game as well as the object pool library I'm going to discuss in an upcoming video. But that's it for now. So thanks again for watching, and have a great day.